Hi, everybody. I just wanted to go ahead and talk about a really serious issue that's been really frustrating me and making me pretty upset over the last few hours because I've received a lot of offensive messages and also some comments over the wearing of a Barong Tagalog by the husband of Irene Marcos Araneta. This was a decision by him to wear a Barong Tagalog at the state funeral of Her Majesty the Queen, which was held earlier on today in the United Kingdom. Let me start by saying that, of course, I recognize this is a state occasion. Many world leaders were invited, and many of them chose to wear black. Now, in the UK, whenever there's a funeral of any kind, black is the preferred dress code. I get that. I accept that. However, the Marcos family, Irene Marcos was invited as the special representative of President Bongbong Marcos, because currently, of course, he's in New York for the UN General Assembly. So as a result of that, he sent his sister along to represent him, and she brought her husband with her. Now, let me talk about the Barong Tagalog and also the dress code that her husband wore at other events over the last couple of days. So basically, there was a lying in state ceremony that took place over the last 4 days. Her Majesty the Queen has been lying in state, and various world leaders actually went ahead and they actually attended that particular event at Westminster Hall. Now, Lisa Marcos Araneta was also at the event with her husband and family. And on that occasion, her husband wore a black suit, which is the traditional dress worn at any funeral or somber event. So he complied with what you like, or at least used the tradition of the dress code that we would use within the United Kingdom at such events. There was also the recent signing of the Book of Condolences, and once again, he wore a black suit, as did the rest of his family. They were dressed in dark clothing, black clothing, which again is appropriate. Now, the issue is this. I've read up on this. And where I've read about it, the Barong Tagalog is a dress or an outfit which can be worn at weddings and also at funerals. Now, the traditional Barong Tagalog is white. There aren't any colors, green, gray, black, red. They're not something that is necessary. The Barong Tagalog is a white garment. And if it's worn at a wedding, it is worn as a white version. Other colors are fine, but it's generally worn in white. That is the traditional classic wearing of the Barong Tagalog. The way that one would wear a Barong Tagalog at a funeral is to wear a black armband. Now, if you look today, when Mr. Araneta was at the funeral, he was wearing a white Barong Tagalog with a black armband. Now, unfortunately, there are some bashers out there, some haters out there of saying Mr. Araneta is incredibly rich. Why couldn't he get a black suit or something like that? I have no doubt he possesses many black suits. In fact, over the last 2 occasions in the United Kingdom, he's gone ahead and worn a black suit. However, I defend his right completely to wear the Barong Tagalog. In fact, I expect it. This is a state occasion, and in the state occasion, world leaders were also wearing their traditional costumes or traditional outfits. You only have to look at dignitaries from the Middle East. They were wearing white. If dignitaries from the Middle East were wearing white, and that is their traditional costume, and somebody who was a Buddhist was wearing orange, why wasn't the person who was a Buddhist, why weren't they wearing black? Why were they allowed to wear orange? There were army officers wearing cream with black armbands. As I said, there were visitors from the Middle East, maybe princes, and they were wearing white. Nobody was saying they should wear black. So why do keyboard warriors and some Filipinos say it would be respectful if he was to wear black? There's even some Brits, some English people who are saying that he's coming to the UK, he's going to the state funeral of Her Majesty the Queen, so he should wear black. Nonsense. I know the hearts of the royal family, particularly King Charles III, and I know King Charles III is very much for embracing different cultures, different costumes, different traditions. In fact, when he goes abroad on state visits, he regularly wears the costume or the traditional outfit of the said country, and so did Her Majesty the Queen. When she went to places where you would need to wear a certain headdress or a certain outfit, she would go ahead and wear that. So I have no doubt that none of the royal family had any issues whatsoever with foreign dignitaries or foreign state dignitaries wearing the costume of their country. I feel this is an issue that's really become a non-issue. It's become a big issue, and it really shouldn't have. The fact is, I believe that the husband of Irene Marcos Araneta was quite entitled to wear the Barong Tagalog. I always defend the Barong Tagalog. It is the traditional costume to be worn by any Filipino in the Republic of the Philippines. Mr. Araneta was invited on behalf of President Marcos. I have no doubt that if President Marcos was going to come to the UK, maybe he would have worn the Barong Tagalog. Maybe he wouldn't have done. But the fact is, I see nothing wrong with wearing the state costume of your particular country. The way that he qualified this in terms of wearing it at a funeral was wearing a black armband. I've researched this on Google. I've looked up various diplomatic practices, and the wearing of a plain or white Barong Tagalog with a black wristband or a black armband is perfectly acceptable to wear on a state occasion and wear on a funeral. I do find it sad that just because the Marcos family, the Araneta family, maybe they have money, maybe they're well off, I get that, but they work hard for a living. And anyone who works hard for a living is quite entitled to the money that they make. The issue is any excuse at all for any reason for bashing the Marcos family or any part of the Marcos family. People have to understand that President Bongbong Marcos is the president of the Republic of the Philippines. Even if you don't respect him as a person, even if you don't respect the Marcos family, you have to accept and understand that now a member of the Marcos family, President Bongbong Marcos, is now the president of the Republic of the Philippines. So I would ask all my friends, all of us, all Filipinos around the world should be respecting the office of the Philippine president. Bongbong Marcos was voted for by 31 million Filipinos in a perfectly democratic process. And this is not about politics. The funeral of Her Majesty the Queen was not a political event. It was not about politics whatsoever. So why are some keyboard warrior and nonsense Filipinos trying to talk about the Marcos family, the Araneta family, trying to turn this into something that is political? It is not political in the slightest. People turning it into something political is very disrespectful to the royal family and to the late Her Majesty the Queen. The fact is no Filipino has got any right to comment on anything like this. This Mr. Araneta was sent as an official statesperson for President Bongbong Marcos with his wife. And as a result of that, nobody's got any right to comment on him wearing the traditional dress of the Republic of the Philippines, which is the barong. This is an issue that's made me incredibly angry. You know, I've been bashed over it, but I stand my ground on this. So the wearing of the Barong Tagalog with a black armband is customary in any funeral in any country in the world for a Filipino to wear. If it's going to be the case that people are going to complain about the dress code, why don't they do that with people who are Buddhists wearing orange, or people who are from the Middle East wearing white? You know, these nonsense bashers need to stop. Please, I would ask you to support this. And of course, again, I'd like to thank Ma'am Irene Marcos Araneta and her husband for attending the funeral of Her Majesty the Queen. God bless you both. And finally, may Her Majesty the Queen rest in peace. And of course, God save the King. Maraming salamat po, mabuhay Pilipinas.